chance to hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You hear some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to
Good evening, Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you, from national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Sabrina Speaks, because you know we are voices of the islands and conversations for the world, and the podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and inspiration takes stage. I'm your host, Sabrina, and it is Tuesday. I'm so happy to be back with you, and that is not cliche. I'm being very honest. I actually look forward to these episodes of Sabrina Speaks and to just hang with you all in this virtual space. It's amazing how just being here like this can be so fulfilling, something you look forward to. Maybe it's a new chapter, maybe I'm still in the honeymoon phase, or legitimately I enjoy this new chapter of my life. Yes, I do. But guess what? This episode of Sabrina Speaks is powered by International Lighting. Because yes, they're celebrating 39 years of illuminating Cayman's home with heart and heritage. Just like a solid insurance policy, their anniversary sale offers coverage where it counts. That counts for area rugs, bed and bag sets, and more to protect your space in style. So while you review your property and medical coverage, don't forget to refresh the comfort you come home to while supplies last. Yes, while supplies last, because that sale continues into this week. So visit Edward Miller and his team at Ed's Plaza. That's 194 Sound Road, North Sound Road. And they're open. You still got an hour to catch them. So if you're just, in traffic and you're heading west or in that roundabout there by A.L. Thompson, just pull off, because they're open until 6. That's Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Or give them a call, 345-949-8211 or 345-949-5141. Now, the content you're about to hear, including any discussions or opinions from myself, guests, and or participants, is intended solely for general information and entertainment purposes. It's not a substitute for professional, legal, medical, or financial advice. I encourage you to consult with a qualified professional for specific concerns. Sabrina Speaks disclaims all liability for any decisions and or actions taken in reliance on the information presented. And please don't forget to follow, like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are diving into a topic that touches every Caymanian household. Whether you own a home, rent a space, or simply care about your health and future. Let me ask you this. Are you truly covered or just comforted by the illusion of coverage? Let that question stick in for a little bit. But guess what? In this episode, we're pulling back the curtain on insurance here in the Cayman Islands. And you may say, well, why she's bringing that up again? Because we're adding another element to it. We're adding another element to it, and not the fine print you skip over, but the real life impact of what happens when disaster strikes, when illness hits as well, and when your policy doesn't show up the way you thought it would. So, yes, I'm hoping to unpack all of that in this episode of Sabrina Speaks. And I want to thank everyone for being here. Miss Mitzi, welcome. You're the first one to comment this evening. I see my guests in the background. Yep, I will be bringing you both in a moment. But just to give congratulations, we got to keep it local, and we got to praise our locals for their accomplishments. Congratulations to Dr. Davina McCoy, who recently earned a degree in family medicine. I am so proud when I see my own go off, and they really are. Yeah, let's give her all the love. Congratulations for her. And I'm looking forward to her coming home and contributing back to society, and, show them all the love. We want to keep them. We want to keep them. We want to create that space, that environment that definitely makes our Caymanians want to come home. And I thought it would be nice for me to put this up. Every day is a thank you God day. And for some, literally, that's literal. That should be a norm for everybody, to be honest, in my humble opinion. So yeah, I got to share that with you this afternoon as we get into the groove of things. And one of the headlines I saw on CMR, for those of you who are keeping up with the headlines, can you imagine? The UK government will expand trials of clinical castration of sex offenders in Northern Ireland. Yeah, that was stated by Justice Secretary David Lammy. Has announced that, citing positive results from an initial pilot program in the Southwest. Interesting. Very, very interesting. And I know some of you may be a little delayed in coming in today because you're going to probably be watching the swearing in of the most honorable Prime Minister Andrew Michael Holness as Prime Minister of Jamaica and the government of Jamaica. And guess what? We got some of our own celebrities down there. Oh, yeah, take that. Look at who there. Look at who there. Our very own Miss Joyce Ann is there. Take that. Look at him. Oh, yes, I got to be. Oh, how do I twist this? And I got to figure out how to rotate this. She got her own invitation. That what you get. See, our people get big up invitation, and I'm going to share more pictures with you. But look at there. We got our own celebrities down there. Take that. But it's all about how interconnected we are. See, we got our own down there, and congratulations to Joyce and whoever else who's there. But I mean, she's proud. I can't blame her. That's how we roll. She got her VIP invitation, and my lady has showed up. So there you have it in livid color. JJ is right there, Miss Joyce. There we go. If she shares more pictures with me before the show ends, I'd be more than happy to share it. I got her permission to do so, and I'm proud of her. Good for her. Good for Miss Joyce. But there we go. Yeah, joining me in a few moments. Let me double check some messages here. Okay, good. Yeah, we're going good. Miss Mitzi, yes, Kim and Brack. Hello from the Brack. It's good to see you. Miss Dawn, good evening to you as well. You go, Joyce. And Dawn, you just like me, you said a lot in that. That's right, my girl. I can hear you laughing right now. But you mess with our friend. Jay is there in living color, girl. Mess with her. But yes, today's episode of Sabrina Speaks, I'll be joined by two phenomenal women who know this terrain inside out. And first up, we will have Miss Hydes, managing partner of Concilium Insurance Brokers Cayman Islands Limited. She'll be breaking down property insurance and what it protects. what it doesn't, and how underinsurance is quality putting families at risk. And then we will also be joined by, again, no stranger to this space, and I'm so happy for her, always willing to come on, a fierce advocate for medical insurance reform, and that's Miss Annkki Brown. She will also be a part of this roundtable discussion, here to unpack the rising cost in healthcare, the gaps, coverage. We're going to do the whole gamut on both insurance. You know, she was on before speaking about insurance in general, but I think, to be honest, that was so broad that we kind of miss what people are hungry for from the medical side of things. So I'm hoping that the discussions that we will actually be ensued here today will be able for you to compare the difference between property and health, and that, as usual, there are great nuggets to take away. So I want to encourage you all to grab your notepad, call a friend, settle in, do whatever it is you got to do, because we're just not talking policies. We're going to be talking protection, empowerment, and the kind of clarity that could save you possibly thousands or even your life. Yeah. So we're going to keep it real. Let's see what Miss Jane has said. Good evening, beautiful. Have the flu. Proud of you. Just retired last day, Friday, 30. Oh, really? Jean? Oh my goodness, 39 years, 6 months. Congratulations to you on your retirement. I'd like to hear, oh, I would love to showcase you here to hear what that's all about. Then you won't be shackled as a civil servant, but it'll be good. But good to have you join us, Miss Ethel. You see your friend now, Miss Ethel. Miss J is living large. Congratulations to you from Valerie Lindo to Miss Jean. Looks like you're following me. There you go. Janet, great topic. Love education on this. Yeah, we gonna keep it real here. And I just love the feedback, to be honest. You can join in the conversation. 936-8255 is the number to call, or you can post your questions on the screen. But we're going to pretty much answer and try to include in the conversation, like things like, people may say, oh, why is she bringing this up? Why does this conversation matters? It matters because of underinsurance risk, healthcare gaps, empowerment through education, and all of these things. You know, many of us here in Cayman are unknowingly probably underinsured, especially in the property coverage, leaving us very vulnerable during hurricanes or even other disasters that we find out, oh my gosh, when you need to go make a claim. And then when it comes to those healthcare gaps, and you look at the rising cost of medical costs and limited coverage options, because some of you can't even afford the premiums, are straining our families. Our residual income is, what is that? And particularly seniors and those with chronic conditions. We've seen the story with Oscar, who is pretty much living a treatment by treatment because he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And they were saying, okay, under this coverage, you're only allowed to get 4 or 5 treatments. And then after that, if we don't see a difference in you go and you sit down by the pasture. Where's the hope there? So when you look at all of those things, is there a gap? Is there more teeth in legislation that Annkki alluded to in an earlier episode? And when we look at the empowerment through education, by demystifying insurance, informing and in educating more the public, we equipped our community to make more informed decisions, ask the right questions when you're going in for a policy, and actually give you, from an informed perspective, challenge the ability to challenge unfair practice, be able to identify them, and of course, jointly to advocate for better systems. So I'm happy that we can bring these topics like this, that we can actually dive down into them and make this space empowering, informative, educational, and your feedback always is welcome and appreciated. Say, Ms. Marjorie to Jane, congratulations. I'm enjoying retirement. I am sure, and I'm sure you will too. We started around the same time, from way back when. It does not even seem so long. That's how time flies. Yeah. Hey, Connie, how you doing? Are you still in vacay mode? Are you still in vacay mode? Yep. I am so happy to have you back. I could be honest with you, we missed you commenting. Yeah, I missed you, but I just put myself on that cruise with you too, and the trouble that we could get in. Yeah. Let's bring at least one of our guests in the studio without further ado. Welcome back, Miss Annkki. How are you, my sweet? And I hear a word out of you.
I'm good. How are you doing? I was wondering if you're going to get us in at the same time because.
I can.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool. Because
I'm
Karina
going
and
to.
I.
Good. I'm gonna pull her in.
All
We're
right.
gonna
Cool.
call her Karina. Yep.
Sorry, I should have
That's
started.
okay.
Her government name
Hi.
is Yaremis.
My
Yeah, I
government
was.
name is Yaremis.
Well, yeah, Miss Pat, I would have slaughtered you that and everything, Karina. I just automatically went to.
Yeah, we all call her Karina.
Now I understand why
She
they
asked
called
me
you
my first
Karina.
name. Yeah, she was like, "What's your name?" And I said, "It's Yaremis Hydes." She goes, "But," I said, "Yeah, they call me Karina." Just
Yeah,
like,
no, there was literally, Nikki, there was a pause in the
yeah, it was
communication.
a
I'm like,
pause.
Yeah,
She was like,
I can
"What?"
imagine.
She's
yeah,
like,
I
"It's my
said,
middle name."
yeah. Well, ladies, it
Yeah.
is such a pleasure to have you here with us as we pretty much I'm hoping to demystify, to educate, inform our listening audience, and that this will transcend in the future as well. As it pertains to insurance as a whole, property insurance, and understanding what skill sets you both bring to the table. I'm very proud of both of you young, well, I could call them a young ladies. That's just a number, girl. It's just a number. I am so happy though for you to take time out of your busy schedule to come here and pretty much give us an educator community, because I think there is so much that we don't know. We honestly don't know about insurance. And then when you actually, insurance as a whole, how the businesses side of operate, and then you have then us as the persons purchasing the services, that being able to break this down this afternoon, I feel is key. And I thank you, Karina Yaremis, for coming on the show, because you're going to specialize in property insurance. And of course, Annkki, we will go into you when it comes to the health side of stuff. So, Yaremis, let's just start with the basics, right? When we say property insurance, for the sake of everyone, we're going to take it back to school. What does it actually protect? What does it mean? And what are some of the common misconceptions?
Okay. Well, thank you. First off, thank you for having me here.
A pleasure.
It's a pleasure to be here to educate the public. I think, as you said, insurance education is very important, and the more we can get out there to the public, it's better for everybody because obviously insurance matters to everyone.
Correct.
Um, so to answer your question, when we say what property insurance, what does it mean and what it protects? So there are two types of property insurance policies. There's one that's called a name peril policy, and then there's another one that's called an all risk policy. So a name peril policy covers only the specific perils listed on the policy. For example, fire, theft, wind, hurricane perils. And if there isn't a peril listed, then it's not covered. And then an all risk policy is a policy that covers all losses except for what is excluded in the policy. So because not everything's excluded, it's generally offering a broader protection than the name peril policy.
Okay. Oh.
Some common misconceptions.
Mhm.
um, you have some clients that say, "Well, I purchased an all risk policy,"
Mhm.
and they're thinking it should cover everything.
Right.
No. So again, an all risk policy does have its exclusions, and one of the things that we often hear is stuff like bad workmanship. You know, so it's so important to read the exclusions in your policy, especially when you're purchasing it at inception or when you're renewing your policy.
Mhm.
Another one too I hear a lot are from businesses when we insure like their property. They'll be if they have like an interruption of business because of a leak or something that's not
Right.
covered, they'll think that their property is covered for business interruptions like loss of sales and stuff like that. That obviously is a whole completely different policy. So just understanding
Right.
exactly what you're purchasing from a property insurance perspective is important as well.
Okay. Now that's eye-opening. What is one of the most then, one thing most owners assume is covered, but is often isn't? Often isn't. Would that be that when you look at homeowners versus a business and all that sort of stuff? Because what you said just now in regards of loss of income, would that be one and same as like workman's comp?
No, that's two different separate
You
policies.
see? You see?
Yeah. So one of the most um or people who what people mostly assume is, I would say, I kind of hear is like leaky roofs or leaky windows. And
Mm-hmm.
most of the times it's because of either bad workmanship. It has nothing to do with, a peril causing the loss to happen or the event to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Termites is a big one too for homes. I have many clients calling saying, "Oh, I
Oh,
have termites
really?
in yeah, is this covered? My roof is caving in, etc."
Uh-huh.
But from a commercial standpoint, you're right. A commercial policy, property policy, and a residential policy are two separate policies. And when you have a business, obviously you have a lot more risk exposure. So
Mm-hmm.
when you have a business, obviously if you own the property, then you have the property insurance exposure.
Mm-hmm.
You also have the liability, people walking in. So that's a separate policy. You have the employers and workman's comp policy that covers your employees if they were to get injured on the job
Mm-hmm.
or if an employee was to sue the employer. There's business interruption, meaning loss of income, loss because of a business interruption of a hurricane or whatever. Not, pandemics are not covered, unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
but things that are actually covered in the policy. And there's various other, depending on the type of business you are in, other
Mm-hmm.
coverages that you have to purchase separately.
Mm-hmm.
If you have errors and omissions, you have directors and officers. There's all
Yeah.
sorts of so many commercial policies out there. It's almost anything that a business does can be insured.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned that pandemics are not covered, even though we went through in our lifetime, our generation have just gone through the pandemic, COVID. Is there any reason why, like, or there's still not enough to know
Yeah.
why it's still not covered? Because
There
it's
was a
inevitable.
gray, yeah, there was a gray area, I have to say. And because obviously COVID was something that was one of, I don't know, an event, unheard of event. But
Mm-hmm.
anything that is related to pandemics, war, or anything
Hmm.
of that sort is automatic
Mm-hmm.
exclusion under the policy because you can't predict for that. You can't cover those kind of, you can't actuary, you know, cover those or quantify those losses.
Mm-hmm.
So
I want to take that one a little further, if
yeah.
that's okay, because as this is actually one of the things that comes from traditional contract law, which of course would have been my background before entering insurance. There are exceptions in almost every contract, not just insurance contracts, for what
Mm-hmm.
is considered to be an act of God,
Uh-huh.
right? And acts of God being pandemics, being things that would automatically frustrate a contract. So
Mm-hmm.
you're looking at anything that is almost like a global obliteration. So
Mm-hmm.
from the time a pandemic was declared, immediately insurance companies went on a high alert because almost every insurance policy in the world has
Mm-hmm.
pandemics as an
Exclusion.
exclusion. And that
Mm-hmm.
includes health insurance, funny enough. The only exception is that in Cayman, our law does not allow for us to exclude pandemics.
Mm-hmm.
The exclusion that would have caught us out in health was to do with we would not health insurers would not be required to pay for
Mm-hmm.
anything that you would not be required to pay for if you didn't have insurance. So for instance, if it was government covered, then the health insurer should not have had to pay.
Right.
However, what we saw was globally, and starting in the US, and I think it might have been, and Karina, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but globally, when the pandemic reality hit, because I think this would have been the first pandemic that came about after health insurance
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
was created,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
right? So this is a once in a lifetime, but this is the
Time.
first, right, experience. Um, there were practical considerations that were made to set aside a lot of those exclusions. I think business continuity might have had a little bit of that too, but you can correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but maybe
No,
not.
no. I think that it went to even court and all that, and it wasn't paid. There was
Hmm.
one claim in the States, I think, that got through a restaurant, but I mean, in
Yeah,
Cayman, it was not insured.
it didn't go
Yeah,
through.
yeah.
But there
Mm,
are other things like pandemics that we don't talk about because we haven't
right.
really considered. So, for instance, acts of God and acts of war.
Hmm.
So terrorism,
Of war.
terrorist attacks, yes, terrorist attacks and acts of war
War.
are
Yeah.
treated in the same way as pandemics. And I feel like there's more than that.
So no
Um,
insurance coverage right now with the escalation of possible presence in the Caribbean region right now with the military presence. We're hearing what's happening in Venezuela. God forbid, no coverage right here now will protect us from what's happening in our waters. Yes or no?
not it is going to be one of those things that we're okay. So this is what happens, right? You put in an exclusion, and then reality tests it.
Yeah.
It's
So if the president declares it's a war or a terrorist attack, then no coverage. It has to be declared by the highest authority. So for instance, like I'm not sure
it
if
has
you
to be
guys
named.
remembered. Yeah, it has to
Yeah.
be named. I'm not sure if you remembered when 9/11 happened. I think it was
Mm-hmm.
President Clinton came up and said this was an act of war, and then all the insurers
Yeah.
were like,
Bush.
"Oh, was it Bush?" Yeah, and all the
Yeah.
insurers
Yeah.
were like, "Oh, it's excluded," because he kind of declared that it was a war.
Holy smoke.
So
Hmm.
you have to be careful as the highest person
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
speaking on behalf of the country, because if you do
Hmm.
declare certain things, then the insurance policy kind of corresponds to that.
This is
Beautifully
why
said.
making the beautiful segue into your area because we're going to go deep. We're going to do a deep dive into property insurance, but
Yeah.
that says a lot. Even when senior civil servants make statements on
Yes.
certain
Yes.
things, and I was like, something went off in my head, and
Yeah.
so I'm like, he was not guarded. He was not coached. He did not get legal advice.
Yeah, but in that particular instance, I'm gonna come back to that. I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
Mhm.
It was when the head of public health pretty much said that we will pay for it. We will pay for your care if you are not covered. He
Uh-huh.
actually said it on television.
Hmm.
However, he was acting in accordance with the law that governs him, which is the
Yeah,
public health law.
right.
And that would have put the insurance law, that would have triggered it. So that's a conflict that our laws need to be that needs to be addressed. But
Uh-huh.
I wanted there was something else I was gonna say to you
Yeah,
about the acts of
about a
war piece.
statement made. Yeah, the war piece where we made a
Yeah, the war
statement.
piece. Well,
Please,
the war piece, not so much.
something
That was the
just went off.
pandemic piece. That was the pandemic
But
piece.
the
That was the
war piece, there was recently a
something went off
statement
for me
made.
with the war. Okay, great. So one of the things that came after 9/11
Mm.
is that the language in the legal in a lot of the exclusions was expanded to right Karina. So now it's not just declared wars, it's war acts of war declared and undeclared.
Mhm.
So
Hmm.
it was expanded to acts of war declared and undeclared. And I think there's also civil unrest is also
Mm-hmm.
riot and civil unrest, I think, are
Right.
also
Yeah.
included in a lot of different language, lots of language, right? So
Yeah. So it just
our
depends
insurers
on
are
the
not allowed to
policy.
do that.
Yeah, it just depends on the policy wording too, with the insurer and all that. But again, it's a standard exclusion amongst every policy, just because again, most insurers all buy from the same reinsurers. So
Hmm.
most likely they're being implementing the same exclusions across all policies.
But
We
put
had
that
a
in mind,
question.
though. So,
Well,
so before
sorry, go
before you
ahead.
take the question, keep that in mind, though. When you look at what is happening globally as an
Mhm.
insurer, Karina and I are having very different conversations about what's happening in Ukraine. For
Yep.
instance, when you look at the amount of industry that's being disrupted in Ukraine, when you see what happened in Nepal, Nepal, all of these places where unrest is happening throughout the world, and you're going to also see it happening throughout the US, right? So
I think we
wildfire
need to look
season.
locally in the region with what's happening. Two
Well,
boats.
true,
Yeah.
true. That's, but I don't think we treat that as our region for insurance purposes, right, Karina? We're not
We're
Latin
part
America
of the Americas.
necessarily.
This jurisdiction is a part of the Americas. Proximity matters.
So when
Yeah.
it is yes or no,
Okay, I'll let you
because
take that one.
yeah, because there are specific insurers or reinsurers that write certain regions. So the
Hmm.
Cayman Islands is unfortunately placed in the region of the Caribbean, and I think we fall under they include Florida as well. So whatever happens within the Caribbean region, including Florida, it affects the Cayman Islands.
I don't say unfortunately, okay? Just easy with that word, yeah? It's unfortunate during hurricane season.
Yeah, unfortunately during hurricane season. So we're put in that risk pool of, so if something happens to our neighboring countries, then obviously, unfortunate, we're put in that pool of risk. So then rates are fluctuating based on what happened. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to read a question. This first
Yeah.
question, two questions actually, for Karina.
Mhm.
When storms have passed and skies turn clear, policies promise to guard what's dear. But fine print whispers sharp and small. Do they truly shield or let towers fall?
Wow, Sabrina, you
That's
really put me on
one.
the spot.
Korea, that one all
And
yours.
I quote it. I read it as it came in. That's one.
That's a very talented listener. Let's
Yeah,
just
that
start
was,
there.
yeah. So and I'll answer that question. The whole point of insurance is to put you back into the financial position that you were prior to the event. Insurance isn't really purchased to cover every event, because if that was the case, then we would never be able to pay for it. It is important for clients to understand that insurance is a contract between you and the the policyholder and the insurance company. So reviewing your policy at inception and at renewal is important to make sure that you know what you're purchasing and what would be paid out in the event of a claim. And the 5 top things that I always tell my clients to look out for is obviously your sum insured, your deductible, any policies exclusions, any additional endorsements, and just reviewing it annually. That's what I recommend all the time, just to make sure that you are understanding what you're purchasing.
Okay.
Because I understand that question. I get what they're trying to say, but if you know and you're reviewing your insurances on an annual basis and know what you're purchasing, then there shouldn't be an issue in terms of what the policy will pay out.
Also, I think this is a good time to touch on the role of brokers, right? Because we haven't really talked about the different players in the market in our previous conversations. But Cayman is becoming increasingly broker dependent. Now, I have always represented a carrier, but Karina has actually spent time in the broker space. And what you'll find is that your brokers are very good around the education and the hand holding and especially around property, which can be very, very technical. I actually have I always call Karina, to be honest. Like, Karina's my person whenever, and there are actually a couple of other really good ones out there that I'll call. But we're all in a market where we kind of like grew up together as young Caymanians. There's like JJ Wells, is another person that I often call up. Like, the Caymanians that are in the market, we look out for each other a lot, right? So, but she's my person that I'll call because she actually has a finger on the pulse of the entire market, not just on what this insurer is doing.
Yeah.
So
So a good broker, me, a good broker is someone who advocates for their clients. So we're not the insurance company,
Okay.
and we always keep our clients' best interests front and center. So one of the elements that you should look for when you're doing business through a broker is a strong broker just doesn't show up at renewal. We normally check in throughout the year, ensuring that your coverage stays up to date. If there's any change of circumstances, we're addressing them promptly and adequately. And we're also educating our clients as to what's happening currently in the market, whether it be rate changes, whether it be climate issues, or just normal things that's happening in the world. We try to just have a normal conversation, specifically what's happening in Cayman as well, because obviously insurance rates are not based by the local insurance company. It's all based by the reinsurance. So whatever happens in the reinsurance market, it just trickles down straight down to the Cayman Islands.
that's property specifically.
Property, yeah.
And, there's another question again. When the elderly pay but can't reclaim, who bears the weight? In
That's
this
for
case,
health?
who holds the blame?
I think
This
that's a
is for
health
you.
question.
No, it fell under Karina.
Okay.
So when the elderly, what's the question?
Pay. When the elderly pay but can't reclaim, who bears the weight? Who holds the blame? That came in with you.
Oh, with
Yeah.
the same question. Okay, got
Yeah,
it.
with
Yeah.
the same. Yeah,
We
because
got our,
remember it
we got
was.
our poetry, our poet.
Oh,
Yeah, there's another part of it too. Tell us plain without disguise. Is insurance comfort or clever lies?
Oh, bless
no,
them. No,
bless you.
listen, good questions. Okay, all of it. I think I should take the elderly one though, because I don't think that that is specific to
Property,
property.
yeah. Hmm.
Because age doesn't actually come into play with property. Now, I will tell you that elderly care is a challenge for every jurisdiction in the world.
Mhm.
We are coming into we're well into the retirement of the largest cohort of humanity, which would have been the baby boomers that were born after World War II.
Mhm.
But the largest cohort that humanity's ever seen, our population has grown significantly. And it has always been predicted that when the baby boomers began to retire, we were going to start to see the problems. That we were already having problems resourcing how to care for the elderly and not have them be neglected, and
Mhm.
who should be responsible for them has also been a big question, and different countries have answered that in different ways.
Right.
However, where we are today, and I'm going to keep my answer specific to Cayman, because there needs to be a book written about this, right?
Mhm.
The older you get, the higher your risk of care, of need for care will be, right?
Oh.
We often, I mean, that's kind of obvious, right?
Mhm.
We're all on a constant march towards the inevitability of death. The closer you get to it through aging, the more likely you're going to have some form of um, you are more likely to have age related illnesses that are exacerbated. So I mean, I'm in my 40s now. My hips are starting to hurt, but I know that my mom is in a very different place, and she's like, so they're looking at things like cataracts being removed, and blood pressure medication, and so there's a management of long term diagnoses, right? So
Mhm.
so that's the non-communicable diseases, right? So the older you get, the higher the risk you are. So if an insurance company is a pot, and I described this on the last call, and I would actually recommend anybody listening to this who's interested in health specifically to go back to that last call, because I need to give Karina plenty of time, because we in hurricane season hot now.
Yeah, we're gonna go back to her in a
So,
deep dive because it's
but
quite
if you
important.
imagine,
I
if
thought I
you
got away.
imagine, no, 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 no,
Nope.
no, this is all about you, baby girl. So, listen, Karina and I started out together. This is
Yeah.
that story is a whole other story, but I'll let her tell it. But if you consider that we are all putting money into the same money bag, and we're
Mhm.
pooling all of our resources together, the 15-year-old is going to probably get their eyes checked and their teeth cleaned once a year. Boom,
Mhm.
that's the end of it. They probably have like a wellness visit. The 30-something-year-old who is fit and healthy, if they're a woman, they're going to get their pap smears. If they're having babies, they're going to have to be taking care of that. The young men, you got to be careful with them on the road. Those are the types of things you're thinking about. 20s and 30s.
Mhm.
40s and up is when you start to look at higher risk. Your risk
Mhm.
is starting to go up. So it's a valid question that the listener has brought in, which is that what happens to the elderly who
Mhm.
have contributed and contributed.
Mhm.
The challenge is how insurance is structured. Insurance is not structured like a savings plan. This is not a savings plan. Life insurance can give you a savings plan, right? And there are other types of insurance that might offer that as an option, but pure health insurance, it does not do that. As you are young, you are paying into this money bag, paying it forward to be able to have access to something when you're older, or to
Mhm.
supplement for the elderly. So it's not being saved for you. All of that is being done on an annual basis. We fill
Mhm.
the bag on an annual basis, and we spend it on your claims on an annual basis. So on
Mhm.
an annual basis, we're setting that amount in those fees. If our average population of the people that are being covered by that bag is high, that
Mhm.
average age, it's going to be a higher cost, because
Right.
those persons represent a higher risk.
Okay.
And it's just a reality. We're all going to get there at some point. However, I do believe that it is one of the things that has been that I noticed was a very big part of the discussions throughout this last election, about finding an answer to how do we care for our elderly in
Elderly.
particular.
Yeah.
I don't agree with the free healthcare for children just off the bat, because the children are actually the ones that are not costing us almost anything. Children cost very, very little to cover. They're getting their immunizations. They probably,
For
they
public
dying
health.
at, they get the flu and they skin their knees. They're not the high claimants. They're not going to make a difference to the public purse. They will make a difference to the single parent, but I think there's another way to deal with that, right? As a solution at a national level. But for the elderly, I think that is actually our bigger crisis that we need to be paying attention to at this point in time. And I say this one last thing, and I know you'll jump on it. That is going to be tied to immigration and who is allowed to retire here. Our resources are only in a position, our public resources are only in a position to be able to do so much. And as good as a job as Cynical does in what they do, I don't see it would really kind of concern me to see Cynical be burdened with an additional burden beyond what they're dealing with now.
Right now.
Because they're responsible for a lot of our social provision of healthcare at this time. So what is available to the elderly right now? Unfortunately, if you are not a civil servant and allowed to be covered for life at retirement, you are then in a position where you need to find coverage. Often that means that you have to go through Cynical. There are some employers, there are few and far apart, very few, but I have been blessed to cover at least 3 of them who actually have a really, really strong retiree plan for their employees. But some insurers are not permitted to do that based on their reinsurance agreements.
Okay.
So that you have to understand, like this, there are checks and balances as to what we can do. We are in the middle as insurers. When I say we, I mean my former life. We're in the middle between our reinsurer who insures us and gives us certain rules that we have to follow, and then we have the client who is insured by us. So that's my answer on the elderly. It's not a perfect answer. We don't have all of the answers yet, but we should be looking at that as a priority.
Okay, well, we got some poetry and questions for you on the medical side. It hasn't gone away, but
So
I
you'll
think
get more
because
poets.
we're gonna get more poetry this evening and questions
love this.
intertwined.
You know that just warms my heart.
I know,
right? It's
I
the
know it
way
does.
that question comes in. Oh, I love
know
it.
it does, but
Love
it's
it
gonna
so
tickle
much.
you pink. It's gonna tickle you pink when we get to you. But because we're in the height of hurricane season, and of course we understand the importance of what Karina brings to the table, that both of you bring, but more so, let's highlight property, right?
Yeah.
Now we've heard the term underinsured more and more lately. Your dog is breathing very loud.
Mute Annkki.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to take him for a walk. We've heard the term underinsured more and more lately, right? Can you break down how inflation and we're hearing a lot too about climate change are quickly increasing that risk here in our very own home in the Cayman Islands, this jurisdiction?
Yeah. So we live in paradise. We live in the
There's a
Cayman
price.
Islands. There's a price to pay for that. But nearly everything is imported here, as we all know.
Right.
So with that and ongoing inflation, the cost of goods, including construction materials, continue to rise because everything is imported.
Correct.
So most property insurance contracts are based on reinstatement or replacement cost values. What does that mean? So it means that you must insure for the correct replacement cost of today's value, not what you bought the property for,
Good
not
God.
what, yeah, not what what you think your property's worth back then. So what that means is you have to make sure that on an annual basis you're checking your policy sum insureds to make sure that it's keeping up with inflation increments. Now, what I've seen in the past 5 years, inflation has gone up, skyrocketed, even after COVID.
Yeah.
Cost of material went up, construction cost has gone up. So if you're not updated and reviewing your policy sum insureds, you most likely will be underinsured, unfortunately.
So it's
Now,
actually eroding your coverage, which
yeah.
kind of begs the question, how often should people really be reassessing their policy, understanding that this inflation is real, number one, we've just established it's eroding your coverage,
Mhm.
then pretty much that inflation is, because of where we're living, is almost from one estimate to the next.
Yeah.
How often then should we really be assessing our policies?
I always recommend at renewal, um, just assessing your policy at renewal. And in terms of getting a property valuation to making sure that you're adequately insured, we usually recommend every 2 to 3 years. The good news is
There
most
is.
there is good news. Um, Most policies have a 15% leeway. So I'm not sure on your property insurance policy, you'll see an 85% average clause.
Oh.
What that means is it does give you a leeway if 1 year you forgot to increase it by 5% or 10%. You do have a little wiggle room.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't play with that 15%, and most people gamble with that. They
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, and to be fair, it's all up to them. It's their policy. They can do whatever they want once a bank, they don't have a bank, and if the bank allows them to do so. But I've had clients ask me, well, can I just insure up to 85%? I don't have to insure up to the full replacement cost value, which you're more and welcome to do so. But I honestly
Mm-hmm.
don't recommend that, because if
Mm-hmm.
you're doing it up to the 85% of your property value, then you're missing that um, little gap that the insurance company is giving as a
Mm-hmm.
threshold to protect
Mm-hmm.
you from that underinsurance clause.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, are there any tools or calculators, let's say everything available now on Google, that you would be able to recommend or even assist homeowners to estimate, let's say, rebuild costs accurately, that would actually put them in a more informed position in doing transacting business with their insurers?
Yeah, as a quick reference, I mean, you can always, there's always a lot of contractors around. A quick reference would be just asking them what the price is per square foot to build a new house, like a standard basic new house.
Like the going per rate, square
Yeah,
foot, I think, yeah.
square foot rate, and that should
Uh-huh.
give you, that should give you somewhat, you know, um, an indicator. But
Mhm.
we always recommend, and I know it's expensive, obtaining a professional valuation from a surveyor, just
Yeah.
because they are in the market. This is what they do every day. They know how the market is increasing, decreasing. They're
Mhm.
familiar with what's happening, especially within that specific area of
Right.
market value, and replacement cost values.
Mm.
Yeah.
Let's dabble into a little bit of real life scenarios. Now, like after a hurricane, what are some of the most in your professional time, what are some of the most painful gaps homeowners discover in their coverage that they probably didn't even see there, that was always in your face?
The deductible. They don't understand how it works.
Ah.
Yeah.
Tell us about
So,
that, please, because I've
yeah,
heard about this infamous deductible.
yes. So obviously being underinsured and the deductible. So on almost every property policy has a deductible. So the deductible is based on the type of peril that you're insured for. So most catastrophe deductibles, what they consider catastrophe is hurricane, windstorm, earthquake,
Mhm.
those like the big cat events, catastrophe
Mhm.
events.
Mhm.
Those mostly have a 3%, minimum 3% deductible. So what does that mean? It's 3% of your total sum insured value. So if you have a house insured for 500,000,
Mhm.
if there's a
3% of that.
yeah, if there's a wind or a hurricane event, you are responsible for 3% of that claim, the first 3%, and then the insurance company pays after. And a lot of people don't understand that. And then in addition, the underinsurance clause. So what happens is, and that's why people get upset,
Oh,
because
so it's a combination of those 2 things. You could be underinsured.
and then
You're
you get linked with a
responsible for the
deductible.
3% before. Oh, so it's a double negative
You
against the
get a double
customer.
negative. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the average clause is the underinsurance condition found in the policy, right? So what happens is, let's just say Mary Brown buys a house 1980, I don't know. She paid
Mhm.
$200,000 to build that house in the 1980s. She hasn't increased her
Mhm.
sum insured. In today's value, that 200,000 house to replace that house is probably 500,000.
Mhm.
So what insurance companies would do is they have a formula, and
Mhm.
that formula would be did times what you should have insured times the amount of loss. So what they're doing is they're reducing any claim payment in proportion of the shortfall.
Mm.
And then they apply the cat deductible, which is your
Oh,
responsibility. So I think that to me is what upsets most clients because they don't
yes.
understand. Yeah, they don't understand how the policy works in terms of understanding the underinsurance clause and the deductible, the cat deductible.
So just for math, I did it just to make sure. The
Mhm,
500,000, 3% of that work equates to 15,000, right? And
mhm,
let's say your house you find out is underinsured, let's say by 100,000 or even 200,000 based on what you're saying with inflation.
mhm.
Some people could be going home with practically nothing and having to do the repairs to their house because of all of these deductions. Do you feel then that the insurance providers or companies, brokers like yourself, owe it then to do a little bit of more education like we're doing here?
Yes.
When people like you really need to take that time out to do more education. So, as emotive as it is, when catastrophe strikes, they're not being getting an educational session on the reality that they did not get when they were actually signing on the dotted line, thinking they were doing the right thing.
Yeah. So I have to say, after Ivan, it was a learning experience for everybody. It was not a nice hurricane. It was very
Hmm.
devastating. And, the insurance companies, thankfully for the insurance companies Cayman, we were able to pay out most claims. I mean, obviously there were some people who were not happy, but on the most, Cayman was able to be rebuilt because of the insurance industry paying out. We paid a lot of
Right.
money. Yeah. So I think after that, there have been some really hard mandates from the regulators because obviously they got a lot of complaints as well. And SEMA has been on top of each insurer and brokers to ensuring that we are doing proper due diligence, proper market conduct, and proper education sessions to our clients. So I know
Hmm.
a lot of the insurance companies, including the brokers, when we send out the renewal notice, if it's a property insurance policy,
Hmm.
we do attach an average clause explanation explaining what I just said to you. Now, most people don't read things,
No.
but
You
it
almost
is,
read it in bite size, like you're reading Archie's comic book in
yeah,
small chunks, I swear, because it's a
yeah,
lot.
it's a
Yeah, but
lot.
I've seen Karina do talks on this in the past. Like
Yeah,
we used to have a there was a understanding insurance talk show on, and it was
Radio
mostly to
Cayman.
do with health, but we made sure yeah, it was the insurance association that we both participated in at the time. But Karina's always been the every time I see her speak about it, I'm like, you need to talk about average. Please talk to us about average, because I need a reminder as well. Like it's I'm not a day-to-day user of this product, but she's excellent at it. She's also spoken to I think you've done quite a lot of education, not
Education
only with
session. Yeah.
clients, but also
So
on
as
a
an
public
industry,
basis.
yeah, as an industry, so I'm still actually a part of the insurance association. I'm a director and I'm actually the treasurer of that association. But as an industry, we
Hmm.
do try to educate public a lot of on these different terms,
Hmm.
whether it be via social media. I mean, the insurance association, we post monthly topics on different things. If during the hurricane season on property, we have different topics on health, medical insurance, life insurance. So um,
Hmm.
I think we do our fair share. I just think again is educating the public to read and ask
True.
questions
Mhm.
because we
Even if they
obviously,
come in the form of poems,
yeah.
because we got another one for you.
Yeah, another point.
If we
I
got
would love
another
to know
one,
who that point is.
if we got another one, but go ahead. We got another one for you.
Oh gee.
But you go ahead, because this whole average clause, some people may look at that, it sounds like a hidden trap when you break it all down, but that's not the case. It's just because people don't understand it.
You'll understand average. I have to be honest, like it is a bit misleading if you don't understand insurance. They should call it the underinsurance clause instead of average
Mm,
clause. So to be fair to the poet, yeah, if that was him.
that not a question.
Oh, that
Mhm, mhm,
but again, that's where you can actually speak to your broker, speak to your insurance company rep and ask them what does that mean. So
mhm,
it is when you see average clause, that is under insurance clause.
Mm.
And that's on mostly every policy, probably 99.9. I can't say all because I can't speak for all, but it is, you would find it most of the times on your policy schedule.
You ready so you can take a break?
Oh, gee.
Okay, sit down. We pay our dues. We trust the shield, yet storms reveal what life's unsealed. A roof half fixed, a bill unpaid. Was it protection or just a parade? That's one.
Wow. So we do, when there's a hurricane, obviously, again, you purchase a policy, it's a contract, and we will pay your insurance claim once you are, one, adequately insured, and
Mm-hmm.
two, you understand that you are responsible for your deductible. I mean, you can't get out of that contract. Once you are ensuring that your replacement cost is the right, if you have a named peril policy and
Mm-hmm.
the loss was covered as a peril, I
Mm-hmm.
don't see insurance companies denying your claim. If you have an all risk policy and the cause of the loss is not excluded, it's a contract. So they have to pay. You signed it's an insurance contract between the policyholder and the insurance company.
Okay, number two.
No, no, no. I actually want to chime in on that one, if
Oh
that's okay.
Lord.
Right. So
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I think it is important to remember that an insurance product does not. Okay. I remember many years ago, I had a client who had a premature baby born, and life was really, really hard for them. It was a baby that had a lot of problems. And I remember having a conversation with their broker because we were getting complaint after complaint after complaint about the insurance. But it was something that we actually couldn't do anything about. Um, they were insured for what they were insured for, and it wasn't a small insurance policy. It was a pretty decent insurance policy. It's just that we were dealing with a very, very, very sick patient member client. And it was I remember the broker, an older lady who has been in the business for a long time, looked at me and said, Nikki, listen, man, just absorb it. These people are unhappy. No matter what happens,
Mm,
this is going to be hard. No matter if you showed up to work and did it perfectly, what they're going through is hard.
mm-hmm.
So, we're just taking the blame for how bad it is. We're not the ones that put them in this position. But it was one of those very, very instructive moments when a mentor kind of reminded me that this we are taking care of people when they're going through some of the
Yeah,
hardest times in their
correct,
lives.
correct.
And unfortunately, we are not God. We are not in a position to do it all. We are only able to do what you've actually signed up for.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the challenge that I think both property and health end up having, is that if you are underinsured, we didn't do that to you. You may had to make that decision. You had to make that decision, and you probably made it from a very good place. And we have this problem right now where people are, there are many people that are going through financial hardship. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs are struggling. They
Mm-hmm.
cannot afford to insure them. So what they end up doing is insuring their employees, but not
And leaving
themselves.
themselves out. Yes,
Right?
yes.
And I completely understand that because as an
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur myself, I have
You're
been there.
responsible for your staff. Yeah.
So you understand that there are realities that people have to deal with when they actually come to make these decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love for Karina to cover the impact on this massive increase in property value
Oh,
that we
and
have
the
seen. I'm
clay.
sorry. Sorry. You have to listen, that has had a major impact, and we need to
Mm-hmm.
not forget that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because go for it. Sorry, Mama.
So what happened with that? We got a double whammy.
Mm-hmm.
So after COVID, like I said, there was a big hike in inflation with cost of material to build property. So, and also property values went up. In
Mm-hmm.
Cayman, we're so blessed to live here, by the way.
Mm,
But that comes with the price, right? And then
exactly.
at the time, insurance is a cycle. So insurance was going through a hard market.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? A hard market means there is little to no capacity, and when there's low supply, the demand, obviously the demand
Go.
is increasing, so the
Right.
prices went up. So there was a time, I think it was in 2017, 2018, when I was seeing 30% rate increases. And then plus
Mm,
you had to raise your sum insured values because of inflation. So there
mm-hmm,
was a time where people were paying 50% more than what they were paying on the previous years if you were to increase your sum insured values, because then
mm-hmm,
you had the issue of being underinsured, right?
Let me just jump in, because when
Yeah.
you say there's a shortage in capacity, not a lot of people know what that is.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So what that means is, oh, thanks for that. What that means is, I'll break it down. So when we buy insurance, we're buying it from the local insurance companies, right?
right,
Those insurance companies reinsure probably 95% of the risk that they are selling. What does that mean? All right, I have a house. I want to insure it for $100,000.
mm-hmm,
The insurance company is charging me $1,000 for that. Let's just say,
mm-hmm.
just keep it easy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're only retaining 5% of that risk exposure. And then
They
they're
pawn
reinsuring.
off the rest to somebody else.
They're buying reinsurance for the 95%.
And just to explain what reinsurance is the insurance that
Yes.
an insurance
The
company
company
has to buy.
has
Because
to
if they
buy.
can't pay it all out, if we get hit by a massive disaster, somebody has to bail them. So they buy an insurance product to insure their business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that
Hmm.
is what drives the rates in Cayman is the reinsurance market, right? So when the reinsurance company now has to go and find that money to reinsure the local insurers, and there is not enough, then the pricing goes up, meaning there's not a lot of investment, capital investment going in.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what you call a hard market. There's not a lot of investment. When the interest rate went up, a lot of people pull their money. A lot of the investors that people invest in insurance pull their money out because they said, well, I get a better return leaving it in this bond or whatever than putting my money and gambling with it versus with a hurricane.
So
You
it's
know, a lot.
market driven,
It's very
essentially.
market driven. Yeah.
Like stock market driven.
Yeah. So the good news is, I do have good news. The
Mm-hmm.
market is coming back. The cycle is coming back to a soft market.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
Yeah. What does a soft market mean? How does it benefit someone who's been paying $10,000, $15,000 a year?
That means that you should not see insurance increases this year coming up in 2026. They just had this.
Shouldn't,
So,
shouldn't, should
you should
not.
not. No, because they every year they have a reinsurance meet up in Monte Carlo, and some of the reports are coming back that there is more supply that would outpace the demand. So meaning
Mm-hmm.
that in 2026, the market rates would be steady, or they should be coming down from what you paid in the previous year. So that's good news. So insurance rates for property is all market driven. And I
Yeah,
think
but
people
hold on.
should.
Can I save you from yourself in that moment just now? Because you just said that we should not be seeing increases
Correct.
in our rates. However, our property values are
Yeah,
shooting up. So
yeah.
we
So
should not be
now is a
seeing
good
increases for the
the
purpose
insurance,
of
if you're
reinsurance.
doing it for a like to like basis, but if you increase your values, obviously you're going to pay
Your
more.
premium. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
from a rate perspective, next year we're entering a soft market era, which means that there is more capital in the market,
Mm-hmm.
and people are being competitive with what they're purchasing the reinsurance for.
Okay. We have a
Yeah.
caller, ladies.
Yeah.
Good evening, caller. You're live.
Good evening, Sabrina.
Good evening.
Good evening, ladies.
They're
Hello,
saying hi
Hello.
and
I think that's my favorite caller.
mm-hmm.
the poet.
He
Yes.
has a lot of favorites out there. Mm-hmm.
Is that the poet?
No, it's
Me?
not the point. I don't think, but
I
he could
protect my
be.
people. I protect my people. Caller, what's on your mind? Welcome to Sabrina Speaks.
I just wanted to clarify a few things or maybe ask clarity of your guest speakers, right?
Sure, go ahead.
So, what I'm hearing is when it comes to reinsurance, right?
Mhm.
Imagine you have a bucket to catch rain, right? That bucket is your insurance company. Now, if it rains a little, your bucket can hold it just fine. But if a big storm comes, the bucket will overflow. So, am I correct in understanding when you say my insurance company gives some of its water to a bigger bucket behind it. And then that bigger bucket helps catch the extra water so that the first bucket doesn't spill over.
Yes and no. The first bucket spills over into the second bucket. So it doesn't stop the overflow. Okay, so I'll give you an example. I'll give you an easy example because I feel like health insurance is one of the easiest ones, right? One of the easiest ones, right? So if I have a reinsurance, it's like what we call it, like a stop loss reinsurance. What will happen is I have an agreement with my reinsurer, and that reinsurer will cover me for every single person, every belly button on my plan. If their claims for that year exceed an X amount, then that reinsurer is going to pay those claims. Right? So that's what we call like a stop loss. That's an example of how, and there are multiple types of reinsurance, but that's how medical generally works. So if I say that stop loss is $250,000, and that person needs to be flown out to a neurosurgeon in Miami, and that is going to cost $800,000, which is very, very possible because that's what that looks like. That's actual reality, right? So I will be paying up to the $250,000 as a local insurer, and then that balance, that $600 whatever beyond that, is going to be paid out by my reinsurer. I pay it, and they pay through me, but they then pick up the bigger claims. Is generally speaking how it would work in my part of the market.
And the property, we don't really normally see stop loss arrangements. That's mainly done in the medical insurance space. So what most insurers do is they buy reinsurance for their insurance, property insurance. So basically what they do is, to your analogy, yes, they purchase a sum insured value, and any claims that is over that, then the reinsurance company would pay them. So they're only retaining a small portion of the risk exposure in the event of a CAT event. Now they can do it. There's different ways they can kind of set up their reinsurance programs. They can have a certain deductible, or just like how we have a deductible for their CAT events, and then they can have a different program for fire, burst pipe leaks. So it just depends on the insurance company, and that's how they're able to differentiate when it comes to offering their different product offerings. It's all depending on their reinsurance program.
Spreading the risk around, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It is. So if I was going to use your bucket analogy, in the case of health, we have each person has a bucket, and that bucket overflows into the reinsurer bucket. But in the case of the property, the entire book of business for that carrier has its bucket. And then that entire book of business has a backup bucket with the reinsurer. I love that image, by the way. Thank you very much for that.
Right. So that's what I'm asking. So then now my next follow-up question would be, so that's why, because I put some of my water into Florida's bucket, and Florida put some of their water into California's bucket, and so on and so forth. When there's a fire in California, Florida has to pay more for their insurance, and then Cayman therefore has to pay more for reinsurance. So that's why when one disaster, I think that's what you were alluding to, right, Annkki? When something happens in one part of the world, it affects insurance all over the world.
Yes.
Am I correct in understanding that?
Well, yes and no. It's regionalized to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So we have different buckets, but then they have what's the one behind the reinsurance again?
They have reinsurance too. No, it's like
but there's a name for it. I'll tell you in a minute.
Reinsurance?
No. I'll tell you in a minute. While you go, you know what I'm going to be Googling that. Who reinsures the reinsurer?
They also go and get insurance as well too.
But the buckets get bigger and bigger. So say we're in the Caribbean bucket, right?
Cat bonds or something like that. It depends on what they buy, how they invest their reinsurance money. But
retro is a retrocessioner. So retro insurance is what they call it. So that's the reinsurance. So each bucket gets bigger and bigger. So the surface area of each bucket gets bigger. So for instance, our current in the health market, to the best of my knowledge, our reinsurer is going to be regionalized, and I think it's all of the Caribbean. I don't think health is Florida is included, and I don't think Puerto Rico is included because we have different legal setups, right?
Yeah.
Whereas for property, the regions are going to be shifted differently based on risk. So
depending on reinsurer as well too, depending on how they spread their risks. So it's just a matter of having the reinsurance broker set up your program according to their reinsurance risk appetite, if you want to put it that way, what they want to insure. Some reinsurers don't do Caribbean because they know that it's very risky and they don't
The
want to.
high risk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So
Some insurers also won't do the Pacific Northwest, and they won't do places like Colorado, certain parts of Colorado because of the fire risk.
Yeah.
yeah. So when people, I know people get really because they don't understand how insurance works, they get angry when the rates, when we have to pay. It's not driven by the local insurance companies. They have to
It's the
buy. Yeah,
reinsurers that impact
it's
it.
a market. Yeah, they then have to go and buy reinsurance to be able to offer you a policy that you require for your bank.
Mm.
And you see, this is where I feel like our governments, and I would love to have that conversation on a national level. We have a national insurance company, and we have been impacted by the regional. So remember that one year when we had Cat 5 after Cat 5 after Cat
Yeah.
5 after Cat 5, and Cayman wasn't
Irma, the
touched.
whole bunch of them. Yeah. Mhm.
It was Harvey, and it was a whole pile of them. That was devastating for our property insurance
Right.
because of us being in this bucket. That bucket overflowed, which of course led for our bucket having to have an increase in cost, an increase in premium, right? And clean me up if I go off track, Karina, because this is your
Yeah.
jam, not mine. I just like to talk. So what we found out, what I've been thinking is that we need to be looking at how are we reinsuring, as a national concern. Is there a way for us to reinsure our carriers? Why would we not consider that? Why would we not consider that? So there's a conversation I would love to have either regionally or locally about that being something that we take a look at
Consider.
at
Yeah.
considering.
Well, the good news is, like I said, subject to no windstorm this for the rest of the period. Many reinsurers will look to deploy more capacity to the existing client base, to the local insurers, and then they will look at other new partnerships to kind of give them capacity. So then this strategy will allow, obviously, market rates to be reduced because there's a lot more, and the buying power, you can use that to leverage. So if we don't have any storms for the rest of the year, then there will be more capacity in the market for the local insurers to deploy, and it'll be a great outcome for everybody, including Cayman. I'm excited. It's not as low as it should be though, but
Right.
I mean, we live on an
But
island with very high value.
Caller, sorry. What? You have another question?
Well, I mean, I do, but I mean, I'd like for either Miss Annkki or Miss Karina to answer it in layman's terms, right?
Okay.
But ladies, I suppose if trust is cracked by claims denied, what truth remains beneath the tide? For those who fear it all the time, what do you think insurance is a scam?
Oh,
I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
He revealed himself.
He revealed
I knew it was
himself.
the point. For some reason, I thought it was him. I don't know.
You can't say I ain't got my caller back, but he revealed it himself.
But he asked a good question, because trust is something I feel like the insurance industry has not done very well at maintaining, and I know that there are good reasons for that, right? This is a conversation we used to have at the insurance association level, which is what actually fed into the start of some of the conversations around education, public discussion. And there's two parts to this answer. One is that there are bad actors in the insurance world, particularly in unregulated jurisdictions. And those bad actors are now starting to pick up gunshots, unfortunately. I shouldn't have said it that way, but that's where we're getting to right now, where that is running its course, where people are not happy with how that is being handled in other jurisdictions. So that thinking overflows into a much wider distrust than it is not regionalized. The distrust is not regionalized. So they're all painted with the same brush. In Cayman, we are so highly regulated that there is always a good answer for how things have gone. And if there isn't a good answer, there will be one or there will be a correction because our regulators are so involved, particularly in health, because we have two regulators. We don't play.
Yes.
We are on very tight leashes, right? But the other piece to this also is that insurers are by nature risk averse. By nature, we manage risk for a living. So I think Karina and I think there might be one or two. April is another one from Pan American. We are very vocal because we recognize that the value of trust supersedes the nature of being risk averse. So there is a risk and a vulnerability in transparency that people run from. They're terrified of opening themselves up. And I remember having discussions when we were talking about provider fraud back in, I'd say about 7, 8 years ago. And the biggest, we would meet on a monthly basis to talk about provider fraud. Karina, you remember this because you used to send someone, right? Or used to come sometimes.
We've seen pregnant men, by the way.
Yeah. Long before trans men. I told Sabrina that the last
episode.
Pregnant man and days with more than 24 hours. Like there's so many crazy things that have come in with provider fraud. But there was a sense of and I remember this. I can say it now because most of those people are gone, right? But I remember people going around the room. We cannot fight back too hard on this because that group of people has way too much political power, and I am on work permit. That was said at the table, and but you have to understand that's a legitimate concern for a person who is doing their job, being afraid to stand up on a national level and say, "This is how this is going. We need to educate you to make sure it doesn't happen," because they knew they could be targeted. They knew they could be targeted. We've been targeted. Oh yeah.
While the people out here suffer.
Right. So there is a risk aversion that has led to a quietness around how we deal with this in the market. And I think health is particularly emotive, right? Property becomes emotive when a storm comes. It's not often emotive. But health is a daily something that we have to people are scared. And when you're sick, you're not well. I know this personally. It is one of the most vulnerable and terrifying times of your life. So to answer the caller around trust, there is misinformation and there are bad actors in other jurisdictions. Not to say there aren't any here, but if any temptation to be a bad actor here is often on a tight leash because of SEMA and also because of the HIC.
Yeah.
And
HIC, for the sake of those who don't understand the acronym, HIC.
The Health Insurance Commission. The Health Insurance Police. But then there's also a fear of being targeted to stand up and challenge the status quo in an educational way that a lot of insurers have faced and have actually said it out loud. Like, we're not touching that. Nobody coming for me.
Well, good for you guys for being advocates in this space. And our poet has disappeared, but I'm quite sure he will. He's not gone forever. Oh no, he's not gone forever. Let's bring it back into the homeowners listening right now. Karina, if what 3 things, just pulling it out of a hat, should they do this month to make sure that their property is properly insured? I mean, like, for any homeowner right now that's listening, understanding all of these things, the erosion of their policy due to inflation, you've gone onto this hidden thing that they probably didn't realize about the average clause, and you realize and you broke it down with the deductible versus the underinsured. But, people want to do the right thing because we understand what's happening with funds, money right now. And how often should valuations be updated? It's every year, but renewal is one thing. Updated is through a different lens.
Once every 3 years, minimum, because of how the inflation is affecting property values, construction costs. But you can always, like I said, if you don't, every year what you can do is just ask the contractor, there's so many people around, I'm sure you have a contractor friend that knows a contractor friend. Just say, what's the cost of a square cost per square feet for a regular size house, or if it's like a high-end house, then they'll be able to tell you, well, depending on the type of house it is, this is what's going at. So you can know, so you can increase it every year slightly. But again, insurance is not in the business not to pay claims. And I think that's important to let the public know. We want to pay claims. I know people are
Yes.
afraid. People are afraid to claim. I have friends that get in car accidents and they're like, well, I'm not claiming my insurance because my insurance is good. I'm like, no, you pay your policy. It's your policy. Claim on your policy. It's there to protect you when you need it. The insurance premiums, yeah, they might penalize you for your no on a car insurance for your no claims, but so what? What's the point of paying an insurance policy if you don't want to claim on it? Even for the house insurance as well. Yeah, there are covered perils that are not cat events. Like if you have a burst pipe claim,
Catastrophic.
yeah, a burst pipe claim, most of the times, most policies don't even have a deductible.
The
But most people,
wood-lice part is where you got me. I mean, for everybody in Cayman Bracken, we all know what we're talking about here. Hello.
Cayman
There is
Bracken,
there is a wood lice
yeah,
problem in the Brack.
yeah.
but that's not covered, unfortunately. But but burst pipe claims are covered. So if you do have a burst pipe claim, that is not subject to the 3% cat deductible. So you could claim on that. So again, it's just understanding what your policy covers. The insurance companies are not in the business of not paying claims. They want to pay claims because if they don't pay I've always said, if you don't make a claim, how you know that your insurance company is not going to back you up in the event of a
You're right.
catastrophic claim?
You're right.
Yeah. If you don't test it, how do
You
you
don't
know that
test
it
it.
works?
And that's
Yeah.
me from a broker. Obviously, I'm speaking from a broker perspective. Like I'm always
Understood.
representing my
Yeah, we're
client.
not
But
driving the claims necessarily on the
no, but I
carrier
mean,
side. But
it's there.
yeah.
You buy insurance, is your policy, is a contract, and and I always tell my clients, if it's covered, claim on your policy. Like, don't be afraid of claiming. But most people feel that if you claim on your home policy, next year is going to go up. Rates been going up for the past couple of years anyway, so might as well claim
Whether or not, yeah.
whether or
It's
not
like
you
the
Yeah.
claim.
utility bill.
Yeah.
I'm not going to use my AC because my utility bill is going to go up.
I would say
Yeah.
something different about health though. I mean, coming
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
it's
I would
different
take
from a
it.
health perspective. Yeah.
I think that where my challenge is in health is to educate my client on the responsible use of health insurance, and also on the power of prevention. The power of prevention is so understated, and I think that's also the same in property to a certain extent. But it's a little bit of a no-brainer, right? Where if I am well, I am not going to be going to the doctor. That should then put me in a position to age well. So I am not fearful of my insurance company not covering. So I feel completely, free to use my insurance coverage. I also recommend not underinsuring. Okay, so in certain circumstances, you're going to always have the option of going to a standard health insurance contract, which is the most basic plan, right? If I was going to give advice, particularly for hurricane season, it would be that you make sure that you have first of all, you know what you're covered for, you know what your coverage area is and where you are covered. Because the standard health insurance contract, you are only covered for emergencies overseas, and that's only as far as to get you back home. If you're on the standard health insurance contract, that money is not going to go very far overseas, and it's not going to put you in a position where you are able to go overseas if that care is available here. So knowing where your coverage area is one thing. Another thing, if you have a choice to go up to a higher insurance plan and you have children who are overseas, put them on that plan. Be on a higher plan if you have kids overseas. I always recommend, do not waste your money on a standard health insurance contract with your 18-year-old as a dependent who is in university in, I don't know, Michigan, right? You want to make sure that they have access and care so that when they come back home, they're portable, but also when they're overseas, they have the ability to take care of themselves, right?
Okay.
I would also suggest that you make sure that during hurricane season, you're keeping up to date with your medications. Almost all of your health insurance plans are going to have a limit on how much you can actually get at a single time. You're going to get 1 month's supply. You pay premium on a monthly basis. You're going to get a month's benefits, right? So making sure that you have you're up to date on your medications. If you have to travel, getting special permission for additional amounts. I've always advocated for us being, and I know that my insurers are going to come for me if I say this out loud, but I think as a human being, I think during hurricane season, we should be putting our clients in a position where they can collect 3 months worth of medications on their ongoing, chronic utilization. And some of us used to do that. I think that they're, special occasions, etc. And during hurricane season, 3 months during the hurricane months, having your, and some of them may still do it. Find out what your medication coverage is, because you do not want to be in a situation after I where you don't have water, you don't have light, and you don't have your meds because you are waiting a couple more days, or you'll get, it's as you see a hurricane warning come, when you go to the pharmacy to go and get yourself your supplies, you go and you get your meds, please.
Okay. All right.
Right?
Ladies, we got another caller.
Ooh.
Good evening, caller. You're live. What's on
Hello,
your
good
mind?
evening.
Hi.
Hi, Annkki.
Hi.
And that's Karina.
Hi.
And Sabrina. Well, I don't know her, but I know Annkki because we're on farm.
Yes, ma'am. How you
Thank you.
doing?
When she said that, I know she liked to talk. I said, well, it wouldn't be a bush.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I have a question. I don't know if I sound stupid or not, but
No stupid questions.
insurance have like age groups? Because like how we all, I guess they make, because I used to have our house used to be insured years ago. But remember I tell you that they had made it lots, and now my daughter keeps telling me, Mommy, we don't have money in case anything happens, because I remember I once on the wear toilet paper they paid me for because I had house and contents insured and a lot of stuff, my hamper and everything they had paid me for. We didn't have problems. But now we don't have none. And remember I was saying that the other day that if anything, God forbid, if anything come and carry this, we'll have out in the bushes with our hands, one in front and one in the back. So I wanted to find out, because we don't have a lot of money, kind of well. And I don't got nothing. They won't give me nothing. But my husband is a civil service retiree, deputy fire chief, government, whatever. So can we get this house reinsured or no?
Yeah, anything is insurable. All you have to do is just get an updated property valuation, and we're happy to do it for you. Yeah.
We don't really own a mortgage on it or nothing. It's ours. It mightn't be beautiful.
Yeah, so that's
but
another. Oh, that's a good. You know what? Thanks for calling. That's a very good point. So people like you, we know that once they pay off the mortgage obligations, a lot of locals, and I understand, it's because it's an extra monthly cost. Insurance is an extra monthly cost, and once you pay off your mortgage, a lot of people just self-insure. But are you really self-insuring? Because self-insuring means that
never
you need
did
to be
get a
putting away.
mortgage. Because we owned the property, but we never did get a mortgage because he never did. He did it bit every month. You know, a month stuff. And it is a full. It might be ugly, but it's a strong house because it is solid concrete. My very walls are blocked. I don't have no sheetrock walls or nothing like that.
That sounds like a good risk. That sounds like a good risk. You like concrete. Might want that.
But they're different products, right, Karina? They're different types of products that can be available.
Yeah, so and that's another thing I can talk to too. So there's different products in the homeowners space. So you can get just fire and theft only if you're not interested in the hurricane. But obviously, most people would want to buy the hurricane.
Oh, well, I want her.
Yeah, which that would be more expensive. But again, a lot of people, once they pay their mortgage off, and I understand them too. I mean, if I pay my mortgage off, I probably would self-insure, but self-insuring means that you have to put something up every month, to ensure that if you do have a hurricane or a minor claim, that you're able to pay for your damages should that event happen. But again,
we used to pay it monthly, and it would be monthly because, like I say, he's a public service pension board retiree. He was a deputy fire chief. I don't have nothing, so it would have to be out of his money. And but another thing, it's a 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom, and we have front porch, sitting room, kitchen, and utility room.
Yeah. So again, once it's concrete and it has a proper roof, in place, then we're happy to look at it. Once you can get a valuation, and it'll tell us everything. The valuation is very detailed. It tells us the construction, the property state, the condition of the property, and everything. And insurers would
Well, the roof needs, and because we have a zinc roof, and the house been built from 1985, and the roof is kind of rusting out. We're looking about getting the roof repaired, and then after that, well, I guess, and well, it needs painting outside and stuff, but I guess that shouldn't be a problem.
No, so
I don't know.
no, it shouldn't be a problem. The only thing with the zinc roof is that you'll find most insurers would apply a higher rate just because it's a zinc roof, because it's all risk based. But and some insurance will not offer terms, but there is a market, I'm sure, that would insure the property. Everything, I'm a broker, anything's insurable. Once you put
Karina,
the
she
right
did
price.
mention age. Just clarify that age for property for property insurance doesn't apply. She
No,
mentioned about their ages.
yeah, no, it doesn't matter. Once it's insurable, yeah.
In our 70s, we roll foot now.
But that don't have anything to do with property insurance. It's
Insurance.
not like it's
Not
medical or
property,
life.
but sometimes health.
Health,
Sometimes
yeah.
with health. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we got health insurance. Cynical, that woman calls it.
Cynical.
They gotta take care of us till we dead, but sometimes they fight you, but I'm a fighter, so I'm willing to fight back, because everything else might go on me, but I don't think my mouth can go till I dead, because you roar hard. So that's another thing, but anyway.
All right. Well, thank you so much for calling.
I had a fight, but I got what I fight for. They say, people tell me, you're a fighter, and I say, well, they say, don't give up till you turn belly up. So
That's
all
right. Thank you so much, caller. Thank you for your
Thank you,
contribution.
Miss.
And have a good evening.
Thank you, my
You
love.
You as
Yes.
well. Take care.
Sure.
Okay, bye.
Sure. We lost a poet who is now deemed as James Bond to Annkki and
I-
Yaremis. Thanks for your light, for guiding us through the storms of the night, with wisdom shared and truth made clear. We're grateful you took the time to be here.
Oh,
Oh,
I love
thank
it.
you.
Oh, I love it. A poem just for
Ended.
us.
I know.
Yeah.
It ended so beautifully.
Just for honor.
Thank you. That's for us.
I will
I feel so
forward it to
special.
you guys.
The
To
two
go
I love it.
over it. But yeah.
The two industry rebels.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What a
that's
mess.
us.
But I like the fact of where this conversation has gone today. And I'm hoping that at the end of the day, people will appreciate the amount of time we've gone deep dive. We haven't even separated medical, but thank you, Annkki, for jumping in, because you can see where the two actually
Different. Yeah.
they're different, but yet
They
combine at the same time, which is it's just amazing. And that just shows how broad this topic of insurance, and breaking it down into the reinsurance, looking at who you're doing business with and what happens behind the scenes. And I'm hoping that really persons who tune in and see this podcast will understand a little bit more about the landscape. But people really want to know two things: that they're there when I need them. Two, that I'm getting value for money. That applies to property, and it applies even more so for health. And that is the key takeaway. And I'm hearing all of these things about reassessment, catastrophic damage, what's covered from what's not covered. And that's reality of doing the work of a broker, insurance thing. But dissecting it and having conversations like this and breaking it down into simplistic terms, but being real and creating that balance so that you speak well from the brokerage side, from the insurance side of doing business, and for the person who, in some case, by law, must be insured. By policy to get a mortgage, must be insured. If people are feeling we're not getting value for money, and you're realizing, okay, there's not enough enforcement for unscrupulous acts, there's not enough teeth and legislation for better oversight, for more enforcement, there's not enough, let's say, manpower. This is why we're having this conversation. And I think it's important that we educate, because the realities don't go away. We have brought up here alone, ladies, today, climate change. I have said right here on this podcast how climate change is now even linked with higher consumption of sugar. because we are the heat and all of this sort of stuff. So it all ties in, you know. You mentioned about the importance of finding, you mentioned about broker relationships and what should people look for then in a good broker?
Well, I said
Girl, plug
me.
yourself.
Yeah.
Plug
I think I should be the one to
yourself.
answer this one.
Unsolicited.
I would take the heat off of you, Karina, because what to look for in a good broker? I mean, if Karina said it earlier on, I'm just taking the heat off of you on purpose
Yeah,
because
that's fine.
you don't have to do that. We have really good relationships with our market. I think both of us, right? And our competitors are.
Mhm.
We have what I think is a gentleman's competition. It is hot, right? Like I remember sitting to lunch with another carrier and saying, he said to me, you're such a good friend, but don't trust me.
Oh, wow.
I never forget it. I'm like, I don't trust you, right? So, but there's a playfulness to that, but there's a very strong
Seriousness too.
competitive
Mhm.
market. Yeah, of course. But what you look for in a good broker is someone who is going to be there for concerns, complaints, questions, somebody who is educated on the market, somebody who has good relationships with all of the carriers, who is not going to block you into just one. Because some brokers only deal with just one carrier, and at that point in time, what are you really doing? You're just being an agent, right?
Correct.
So there's a really I love to look at the diversity of the brokers when and what they actually pay attention to. I also love to see and make sure that my brokers are educated, because there are a lot of brokers that are not necessarily quite as sophisticated in what they do, which is why I love talking to Karina. I love talking to JJ. I love talking to people like Christina, Samantha. Like, they're really good brokers out here, really, really solid brokers, right? And I'm naming a few, and I should probably name them all because they're gonna come for me if they don't. But there are also multiple brokers on island. I should probably name the brokers that are in the health space because there are just a few of them, very few of them. Bogle is in the health space. Aon is in the health space, but I'm not sure how much they are anymore. But I think they still are. Marsh is actually still in the health space, and that would be Laverne. Laverne Jackson, solid professional. She's been in it in so many ways. She's been a health insurance in health insurer. She's been in a HR position, and she's also been in a brokerage position. We've got Concilium. And that's Karina, and we also have and Concilium. You're getting into health, right? So I'm not going to talk about what Concilium does necessarily, but you can.
So
I know Willis Tower Watson is also getting into health.
As long as Gallagher, don't forget Gallagher as well.
Gallagher is also there, and Vanguard as well,
and CIC too. So
that's
there's
right.
a couple. There's a few.
There's a few.
Yeah, that would do it. But as Annkki said, a good broker is an educated person that knows the market, has strong relationships with the carriers, knows what the market products are. Because you see, we don't work for the insurance company, we work for our clients. So when a client comes to me, and let's just say I have a medical client that's different from an office risk client. Those are two different risks that I have to kind of make sure that I'm getting the right product. And different companies offer different type of products for each industry. So if I know that it's a white collar client, I'm not going to go and place them with a certain company because they don't offer. They're in the market and competing for benefits. So they want to make sure that they're getting the top of the top, because then they're going to start losing their staff. So it's just understanding your client, which we understand we have different mixed range of clients, and ensuring that we're educating them, we're hand holding them, and that they can trust us. That's what we are. We're the trusted advisor. They can talk to us about anything, and we know the market. This is what we do. We are in the market every day. I go out to market every day, whether it's in the local market for property, I go into the international market for liability or professional indemnity. So I'm always in the market doing this. This is what I do on a daily basis. So we know what to expect. We know benchmarks. We know industry talk. We know industry gossip. We know what's going on. So
you know who's leaving what.
Yeah. So
the movement in this market is
it's been really crazy. And another thing too, while I have you, Sabrina, I'm a big advocate for it. We need more Caymanians in this industry. I find that
What does it take?
I know in the
What
health
does it
side,
take though? Mm-hmm.
I know
Health, our
health is
max spec
very
was
Cayman.
98%
Yeah,
Caymanian, I think.
yeah, but
But I
maybe
think that's changed. I think that has actually
it's
changed. We have
changing.
fewer Caymanians in that
I
space.
just don't think Caymanians think insurance is fun. Like, I mean, I fell into it to be honest with you, but um,
Oh,
a
but you
lot of
studied
a
it.
lot of
You are one of them that
I
fell
have it.
into it.
Yeah. Well, I kind of well, I fell into it because I started with Mr. Bogle when I was only
That's
16 years
right.
old. Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
so
Yeah.
yes, I've been in it for a very long time. But and then I went to study. I have a degree in risk
You're one of
management
the few
insurance.
people I know that
Probably
studied
one.
insurance
I
in
probably
university.
probably the only one in Cayman, if I'm not
No,
mistaken.
man.
No, someone
JJ
else.
studied it too. JJ as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, okay. A
Jonathan
bachelor's
Wells.
in risk management
Yep.
insurance. Oh,
I
okay.
don't know if it was risk management, it was definitely insurance, but he
Yeah.
studied in the UK.
Yeah. So anyway, a lot of people don't get into it because they think it's a sales job,
mm-hmm.
and it's
And
Yes.
just not.
the
Yes.
insults
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
people throw at you, you're only doing this for the commission. You don't give a
Yeah.
crap about me. And then when I really need it or have to do a claim, I can't find you, or it doesn't pay out what you're selling me. It's not
Yeah.
everybody is front facing like that.
Yeah, so there is a big gap in the industry, in terms of getting younger talent involved. And I think there is such a need because insurance is not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mhm.
their insurance, there's accounting and insurance, there's marketing and insurance,
IT.
there's IT, it's it's a whole industry in itself. It's
There
not
are
just
mechanics in
sales.
insurance. There are nurses in insurance. I
Nurses,
know doctors in insurance. There are people. There are
actuaries,
quantity actuaries,
quantity
quantity
surveyors.
surveyors. I
Maybe
mean,
that's
I've
another
seen.
show to
Yeah,
dissect
Yeah,
it and the
there are
careers
police,
in
former
insurance.
police. Yeah,
yeah.
there's so
I
many,
would
so many
love
cool things.
I would love to be on that show because I think we
Yeah.
need to get the younger, because a lot of them go either to law, accounting, there's a huge reinsurance space too that's coming on board. Like that is
Mm-hmm.
huge.
Yes, that's very, very
That's where
big.
the money is. I mean,
Yeah.
I kicked myself the whole time I should have became an
There's
actuary.
marketing and insurance while you're here. And please
Yeah,
Yes,
note,
yeah.
this show is not paid for by any of these two young
yeah,
ladies and what
Yeah.
company they're affiliated with. I reached out to them for content based on your demand, based for the
Mm.
topics, and both parties are not paid. I
no,
don't benefit. They're benefiting because it is an honor to showcase them, to aid in just promoting this space and this subject matter. And I'm
yeah,
just
Mhm.
so happy that at no point has either of these ladies asked me, "Are you paying me?"
Yeah,
No,
no, no, no, no, no.
they are just so hungry to educate. They are just so hungry to inform that I am very happy for them taking time. They could have done so much with their 2 hours this evening, but the mere fact that we're doing this in this space and they're so willing to, as we engage and see opportunities here, that's a whole different show. Career opportunities that could
Mhm.
land Caymanians another job. We just had,
Mhm.
I understand, a job expo in the hospitality industry. I'm hearing mixed reviews on that, but understanding in regards to this
sector.
industry, there's a lot that is unknown, and there could be a job
Yeah.
sitting right there.
And it's
Yeah,
a growing industry. That's the thing I think Karina was getting at, is that, in the past, it's been a very closed industry. It's been small, right? So we haven't been like out there. And also health in particular has been so Caymanian anyway. But
Yeah.
now like I said, that's starting to change. I think we're now in a
Mhm.
time when we're seeing a whole lot more the shift where it's not as many Caymanians and especially not in leadership in those spaces. But one of the things that I think is important to point out here is that we're not selling anything. Like like Karina and I are here to share because
Yes.
we love what we do and we believe in what we do. And not a lot of people talk about we get together, we talk about work, and it's not that we have to, it's because we actually love what we do and
That's your
there's a
love.
purpose to what we
Yeah.
do, right?
Mhm.
So there's a sharing of that from that space. But I mean, Karina's just started, like, not when I say just started, she's
year
worked in
in.
a startup. She's a
Hmm.
year into her startup and they're actually fully licensed and operational at this point, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
And she's heading up a new venture. I am also heading up a new venture, but we are not licensed, so I'm not in a position.
Yeah.
I'm not in a position to say anything
I
about that yet.
congratulate Karina too on that, making
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
partnership.
done a
Good
great
for
job. Yeah,
you. Good for you.
Yeah,
Good for
yeah.
you,
So
girl.
it's a new firm. We're starting from scratch, zero. I mean, we're doing really well considering the market landscape. But we're a year-old business in Cayman. Our parent company, Aventum Group, is obviously a 30-year-old business, but they're expanding all over the world. And this opportunity came up, and I said, why not? Let's
Go,
give it
girl.
a try. Yeah.
Well, ladies, I wanted to dissect. I know you're going in, but Annkki, I know you. You know, we got
You saw it.
minutes ago. I saw it, but you're like that. You know, when Roadrunner was running after whatever that was, and he draw brakes.
Coyote.
Literally saw the brakes, the smoke coming from your feet. Let's try and amalgamate these two right now, so that it bridges the topics into, you know, for example, bringing in disaster scenarios. And I'm seeing where one commenter is saying, Auntie Sabrina, the next interview should be the real estate expert on the island. Shaka
You
Zulu,
should have the real estate expert with the property insurance expert, because those things they have an impact. Real
Now,
estate has a huge impact on the property.
look here, I will bring anybody on.
Karina,
If they're willing to
that one,
do,
'cause that's a fight.
no, I will bring them on if they're willing to come. Not everybody is as vocal as you guys. Not everybody is willing. So I will put the feelers out there. Shaka Zulu, if you know any who is not scared or would not mind being a content provider to this space, by all means, we can engage in a discussion. But let's bring this whole thing together now into a disaster scenario. Say a hurricane. How do property and medical insurance intersect? And why should families be thinking about it holistically?
I mean,
See,
you
I
want me
told you, Annkki, I would bring you in.
All right, let me try that one, because let me try that one from a carrier space, because I think from a carrier space is really what you're looking for here, right?
Right.
So I have worked for a pure health insurer. When I say pure health insurer, I mean we did employee benefits, right? So Generali would have done health, life, LTD, long-term disability, accidental death, and dismemberment. We did not touch property. We did not touch motor. We did not touch any of those other things. And then I spent a short period of time in another insurer, who shall be nameless on the show, that did both property insurance and health. And the difference in the way that those two companies operated in the face of a hurricane was very clear to me, because so the health insurer, we were fully online. We had our backup offices in Canada and in the United States, and there was also a backup office in London. So you have your business continuity plans, you have your disaster recovery plans. You know that any client that needs to get on the portal with it or has access to the internet while they're away, even while we are obliterated, if we are here, that is going to be taken over overseas. Property, I'll tell you how our preparation went. Like, once we knew that the storm was coming, we just set up all of our folks, gave the warning to our international offices. And, you know, this is a beautiful thing about having international offices, whether they are downstream or head offices, made sure that those things were activated. Then you wrapped your stuff with plastic bags. You made sure your windows were shuttered. You made sure your staff were home. You made sure you had your phone numbers for everybody. You know where everybody was sheltering. That was the end of that. In a property company, that was a whole other something. So funny enough, I grew up in insurance. So I remember what Hurricane Ivan looked like, right? My dad would have been working at Brick K at the time. And I remember the Brick K initial offices, the current big Brick K building,
right,
they had just moved in, right? I think they might have just moved in early that summer or the summer before, right? And they had some damage to that building, but the life offices were in Elizabethan Square. And I always used to like just fill in whenever after school or whatever it was, or if I was doing something. People live in their offices.
Yeah. So I was just going to say,
they live in their offices for days.
For the property, we have a mandate that we are not allowed to travel. We're here with brokers. You know, we are on call, because that's the promise to our clients. And I'm sure that most insurance companies actually take the same protocol. We can't evacuate. Then you'll have problems. Then you'll have no clients next year when you want to renew.
You're right.
So we do implement our business continuity plan. And as Annkki said, the good thing with the international firm, we can get resources, and we do have meetings, you know, before the hurricane season, and we activate our emergency call list, our call trees, to make sure that everything goes hand in hand in the event of a natural catastrophe disaster. From an insurance company perspective, I can't speak for them, but I also too know that based on my conversations with a lot of the loss adjusters, I know after Ivan, that was a big issue. A
Oh
lot
God,
of
people didn't even want to hear that job title name.
they couldn't even come into the island, oh Sabrina, because of the
Exactly.
I think the island was
Mhm.
closed or something like
Correct.
that. Yeah,
Correct.
so that has all changed now. So when we are like in warning, hurricane warning, the
Mm-hmm.
insurance companies are already bringing them down. Yeah,
Ah,
it's a chance of them,
proactive. Mm-hmm.
yeah, of them not having
Mhm.
to do anything, but they're already on island. They're already housing them so that in the event of a natural disaster, a massive one, they can kick in right away and start assessing the properties so that they're
Mm,
able to launch them out. So it's just a matter of preparation. We are
Mhm.
required, SEMA
yeah.
does mandate
And
for
we're
us to have
tested.
our, yeah, and we have to test them and make sure that we are um you know following those things, because they on our regulators are very great. They're very
Mm,
we have quarterly meetings with them, etc. So they're on top of us as well as a
that's
licensed
right.
entity.
Yeah. So the preparation in the carrier space for the property side, the thing that I observed was that there was a captain pretty much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
The
Nina
head of
Captain. Yeah.
claims, yeah, captain is like almost like a football captain. All right, this is what it looks like. You're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this. Finance, make sure that we have this. And IT, do we have backup? So they actually go into like full
Wow.
on
It's a total
war
different
mode.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a
We
different
all
world.
become, when
So
there's a
where
claim,
is
we all
everyone going to be?
yeah, we all
This is where
become,
we're going to camp out.
yeah, we all become claims officers. The whole insurance. No one's doing accounting.
Everyone,
Everyone's
everyone.
the whole team is claims officers. We're
Yeah,
just
yeah.
trying to navigate claim queries.
Hmm.
So we
And
prepare
you'd
for
be
that.
surprised. That's when like those students, like sometimes you're after school kids and they come in. I remember I was like going through lists and making sure like this is me
Listen,
at what
I
18 years old or something like
yeah,
that going
I
through.
I came in after Ivan. I was the one photocopying those flooded files.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And walking around, making sure that checks were signed. Like
Yeah.
everything becomes almost everything
Vital.
becomes
Yeah.
manual. No, manual,
Mm,
because yes, your systems are working in the back end, but if you don't have access to the internet and you don't have access
Electricity or
to
anything.
electricity, backup stuff will be used, but backup stuff is going to be used for very specific things. So checks are written by hand. Like, you'd be surprised. I have never seen anything quite like an insurance company after a disastrous hurricane.
let me ask
Never
this
seen
question.
anything like it.
I get from both of your perspective. What's one thing government could do tomorrow to strengthen consumer protection?
Ooh, that's a different topic,
Just one at
Sabrina.
a time. Just one at a time. Don't rush to the mic. Don't rush to the mic.
You know what I'm going to say though? I just need to say it politely.
And it's 6:52. We end at
Jesus,
7.
Karina, I'll take the hard one.
please. Yeah.
By the
Monique
way,
is always
Karina's
giving
also operated in health, which is why she can weigh in on this quite a lot, because she was the head
Aeon
of both, of the Aeon
for
retail,
both
all of it,
property and
property and
health.
health,
Yeah.
which is why she can bridge the gap between the two. Okay, so I think to support the protection of consumer protection, I think we need to know where every single dollar goes. Every single dollar. We need data, 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 data. And at this point in time, only the entities involved in our industry who are regulated by SEMA and slash the HIC and or the HIC are the ones providing the data. We need to know where our money's going, right? So I believe, and I say this all the time, consumer protection, there are two places that we are really failing as a country. One is in construction, and we can talk, I want to address that real estate question before we go. And the other one is, and the other one is in healthcare. And it's because those are black boxes. They're not financially regulated in any way. But our money is going there. And where is it going and how is it being spent? And what are the accountability elements that we have in those spaces? Yes, we have health practice safety guardrails, right? Where, infection control and making sure that the facilities are appropriate, making sure that the people are properly qualified, all of that kind of stuff, right? So we have all of the clinical pieces in place. Could they be better? I'm not the one to say. But the financial piece is not there. Financial protection in a healthcare space needs to be there. And I'm just going to say one thing. When you take a look at how many medical providers there are for a population of about 80,000 people, you know that we are really like throwing money into the space. So we need to know where that money is going, what is happening. At one point in time, about 3 years ago, I remember the Health Practice Commission told me they were registering 4 new practitioners a month.
Wow.
Yep.
All right.
For the size of our
For the
jurisdiction.
size of our jurisdiction. How many hospitals we have for 80,000 people? Okay.
That speaks volumes. That should tell you
We need
something.
to know where the money is going. It's probably going to all come out in the wash that everything's going great. We don't believe that that's what we're going to find, but we won't know until we look. It would be great if we actually took a look at the
You're almost scared of
finances.
opening the door.
I'm not afraid. Somebody else might have to be afraid of those things, because at this point in time, we need to know. I plan to retire here, and we need to be able to afford to retire here. My parents are retiring here. And I think that's why Karina and I are in this conversation the way that we are, because we're fighting for a national fight for our people, right? So yes, we're doing it from a private sector space, but we're providing a very important role.
Yeah.
And a product, right?
And a product that
we are the police right now. Our pre-authorization process is what stops financial fraud. It is the only thing that stops financial fraud.
Wow.
And people complain about it all the time, and it's really uncomfortable and it's inconvenient. But if we had the guardrails in place and there was financial accountability in that space, insurance companies could get rid of whole departments of people overseas that we had to hire to review claims and make sure that they're properly done.
Okay. Interesting.
Sorry. So yeah, financial accountability. Sorry. Go, your turn, girl. I took all your minutes.
Karina, your turn.
Karina?
No, I think you said it all, Annkki.
No, man. There's gonna be at least one more thing that we could change
because there's another one here. It talks about bundling.
Oh, bundling.
Can bundling property and health insurance lead to better rates or more comprehensive coverage?
The two is different, because again, remember, it goes back to what we were saying about the reinsurers. There are two separate reinsurers doing the separate products. However, I know of companies in the market that do sell both, and if you do have an existing policy with them, they will offer an extra 5% discount on our 10% discount on the thing. But because they're two separate type of products and they're buying two separate reinsurance programs, you don't really see a lot of bundling discounts. Yeah,
I know
you have to also remember, Cayman is one of, like, small jurisdictions are the only place where you see one insurance company doing two types of insurance, right? In the US, you have health insurance and you have property insurance. Right. And all over the world, the two things are separate. The reinsurers are different. It's only in small places like here where we actually get two under the same roof. Even in the Bahamas, you can't sell both property and health. You either one or the other. So there's it's because they are such different businesses. And even in the cases where that is offered here, you're not getting the discount on health, because health is actually so it's down to a formula. And you messing with that formula can put your client in danger, right? You put your book of business in danger. That is such a high claim volume. It's one of the highest claim. I think it is the highest claim volume
health
type of product that exists. Like, we're talking about thousands of claims, like, on a weekly basis. This is not a small thing.
Once you get insured for a health policy, you can go and use it right away.
5 times in one day.
Yeah.
Right.
Get your teeth cleaned, your eyes checked, and go and get your checkup all in one day. And then they send you to get an ultrasound. That's 4 claims.
Yaremis, if you could leave one piece of advice to every homeowner in Cayman, what would it be?
I would definitely have to say, check your sum insured values to be happy clients. Make sure they're adequate. Check your policy. Make sure that there aren't any exclusions that you're unaware of. If you have any questions, just reach out to your broker or your insurance company.
Well, I just posted one broker. I just posted one.
Nice. Very cool.
I just posted one.
Yeah.
What's your vision for a more empowered, better protected Cayman Islands? And both of you can respond to this. Your vision for a more empowered, better protected Cayman Islands. Okay.
I would love to see healthcare actually has a lot of work to do to make us more protected. I think healthcare, not health insurance necessarily. I
Mhm.
would love to see more standardized processes and more accountability, financial accountability, but also standardized processes like pathways, clinical pathways are
Mhm.
things that I would love to see, because when we don't have a measure, we can't say that we're getting a good thing, right? So
Mhm.
let's set the measure, let's set our measurements up, and let's collect the data, and
Mhm.
let's let everyone improve. Everyone's life improves when health is something that is not only available, but it's trusted. I would also want to see an insurance market that is intentional about what it's doing in the market and has a view to the health of the market and the jurisdiction in general, rather than being in any way, how do I say this? I don't like the word vulturistic, but rather than being, I would like to see more symbiosis with our market and
Mhm.
Yeah.
less of the parasitic approach, because
Right.
none of our insurers are local, not one of them, right? So that is well for now. So that is one of the things that is like, it is quite important. I would like to see more of a real intentional citizenship of the insurance, health insurance in particular, but insurance in general in our
Mhm.
market, in educating Caymanians and giving them employment opportunities and actually opening us up to the world, because we could be the top jurisdiction for insurance in the world. I mean, we're getting there,
Right.
but
Like,
we could become that, and that's what I think we should be.
Yeah.
in a wrap up, I give you both the space.
Yeah. So for me, I would definitely say education and awareness, informing people how insurance work with respect to the replacement cost valuations under insurance clauses, so they can be able to make confident decisions. Um, and I think this is important. Community resilience for me is a big
Mhm.
thing. Strong partnerships among our governments, the insurers,
Mhm.
the
Mm.
brokers, so that we're able to recover quickly from a natural disaster, keeping families safe and businesses open, because that's what
Correct.
matters as a community. And I think that would be more, um, obviously, I would love to say more affordable insurance, but
Mhm.
it's just,
Me too.
Realistically.
yeah,
It's possible. It is possible. I believe it is possible. We
but it's
just
just,
need to be creative.
yeah.
All
But yeah,
right.
that would be my take.
Well, ladies, it has been a pleasure. And I hope that all of those persons who stayed with us and who will be joining us even after the fact, that they would take away and they would have taken a lot of information here. Definitely have been more informed or enlightened by the information shared here. Two powerhouses. Oh my God. But the good thing is you're here on one mission. And, that's a whole lot of truth and reality into this space. I want to wish you all the best. I want to, the sky's the limit. You will not be strangers to this platform, because we've already identified another show that Yaremis
Yeah,
definitely has to come back on if I can get my hand on someone from the real estate industry. And if two of
yeah,
you or both of either of you know someone who would be willing to join in this roundtable discussion, and we're going to have more forums like this. I feel that we just get a lot more out of the discussion, but it is huge. It's huge. And I feel that there's massive takeaways from here today. But
yeah, I
thank you
agree.
so much for giving of your time. And yeah, we got to
Thank
wrap
you.
it up.
Well,
It's been a
thank you so
pleasure.
much for having
Oh, it's
us.
a pleasure.
Sure, it's a pleasure. And Nikki, go take your dog out to walk.
I let him out earlier. I'm so sorry. This is the
Thanks so
wrong
much.
time of day, Sabrina. Bye.
Bye,
Gonna
Take
hire a
guys.
care.
Good
babysitter
night.
for you or something. Take care, ladies. Well, there you have it. A massive thanks to Yaremis, Hydes, and Annkki Brown for not just showing up, but for showing out with clarity and compassion, and the kind of expertise that we have right here in our community, and even the questions, the comments that came up with these two ladies who are actually gatekeepers and fighting for the rights of everyone. At no point did they ever promoted themselves or their industry. They are just having the real talks and making sure that we get the right ears. And if you're listening right now and realize that your policy may not be as solid as you thought, please don't panic. Get protected. and be proactive as well. I've shared there in the bottom of the comments how you can get a hold of Yaremis and her as a brokerage firm. So give them a call, visit their website. At least you can put a face with it. You know, if you know that your policy might not be solid as you thought, we don't want you to panic. That's why you got those for. And to review your coverage, ask the right questions, hopefully by the information shared here, that you'd be more informed in going in, and lean into the resources that we've shared as well today. You know, because insurance shouldn't just be, in my humble opinion, paperwork. It should be peace of mind. And in places as vulnerable and as vibrant as us here in the Cayman Islands, we've heard it repeated here that we live in paradise, but it comes with a price. And that piece should be accessible as well, transparent, and tailored to our reality. So as always, you know, right here on Sabrina Speaks is here to break the silence, build the bridges, and to bring you conversation that really, genuinely, truly matters. And if this episode stirred something up in you, then guess what? Share it. Start a dialogue, but most importantly, take action. So as I wrap up today, even though I'm in overtime, and to take a deep dive into claims, coverage, and policy reviews, let's shine a light on our sponsor. That's International Lighting. For 39 years, they've shaped Cayman's protect and personalize their homes, because their anniversary sale is still going strong with deals on area rugs and bed and bag sets and more. So while you safeguard your health and your property, let your space reflect the care you invest. Visit International Lighting, where comfort meets legacy. That's at Ed's Plaza, 194 North Sound Road, open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Or give them a call. That's 345-949-8211, 345-949-5141. Until next time, stay empowered, stay connected. I'm Sabrina, and this has been another Sabrina Speak, where your voice, your story, your truth always have a seat at the table, and where we are voices of the islands, conversations for the world. Until tomorrow, good evening and God bless. That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV, as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.
That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV, as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.